let me record.
Oh yeah, let me hit record too. Or should we just
We should just maybe we should get going started.
I mean, do we want to put the video up for this one since it's just a Patreon thing, or should we?
Sure. I can do that. It records audio and video on Zoom, so we could just do audio and video. Or I could just put the video up.
Okay. I mean, whichever. I'm sure there's people that want to listen to just the audio.
I was doing primarily video for a little bit with Patreon, and then I sent out a poll, and they said that the people who responded to the poll said they like mostly audio with some video. So
That seems fair.
yeah. So I figure if we just do like this one as a video, that should be fine. I could also put out the audio too, if there are people who, just primarily like
we'll figure it
audio.
out.
Also, for anyone who's watching the video, I have to face this way because my camera is my microphone's this way, so I have to talk into the microphone. So I'm not ignoring Maria, and I are not fighting. I'm not ignoring Maria. I'm not looking you in the eye. I have to face my microphone.
She's shunning me.
Yeah. Talk to the hand. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to Bloody Podcast Patreon. This is Shenema. We are going to be talking about, Maria and I are going to be talking about the House of Horrors expose on the Turpin family.
On 2020.
On 2020. If you have Hulu Live or an ABC subscription, or if you have cable, you should be able to watch it on ABC on demand.
On Hulu too. I watched it on Hulu, just regular Hulu.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Great. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Regular Hulu then.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm interested to know, why did you want to cover this one, Lauri? Because you said watch it, or you said, have you watched this? And then you said, are you okay? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Have a bunch of wax in your earbud?
I had something very weird in my earbud, and I was like, is that supposed to be in there? So it's okay. It's in my ear now. We'll figure it out.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was saying, you normally don't like demand that I watch something. So
yeah, so it was a combination of things. It was a combination of I feel like this is a larger conversation that we could have about like just the system in general and how it's just a shit show. And if you watch if you watch it, you'll see like there were so many times where like people could have intervened and they didn't. Mm-hmm. And just also like I get so freaked out about that. See, this is where I feel like I turned into like a crazy Republican that's like, everybody should have a camera in their house so we can all monitor what everyone's doing. Because I'm like, if we can stop one Turpin family from happening, then so it's like, I feel like I think you stay the same. You don't go like different, but I go so crazy conservative, like child molesters to me, like anybody who abuses kids, I'm like, you know what? We should monitor everybody and we should make sure that nobody hurts children. I'm like, and I have to stop myself because I'm like, that's not rational, but I'm like, I don't know. So it just makes me insane when I see that kids are being abused. So yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, I should be able to walk up to anybody's house and be able to look inside and
absolutely
just see what's happening.
Yeah. Check the kids' rooms.
Yes.
Come in the middle of the night just to make sure nothing's going on at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Absolutely.
I don't know if it's like this weird like white woman privilege that I have, where I'm just like, you should let me in.
It's that.
Check your kids' room.
Yeah, it's that. I can tell you right now.
All right. Well, I guess it's not a larger conversation then. I guess.
No, I totally get what you mean. Okay, so for many of you who haven't seen it yet, like we said, you could go watch it on Hulu. It's also on YouTube, in different, just split up into the 4 parts. And it concerns a family of 13 children who were living in Paris, California. And we'll get to how that was, like, it hit home a lot for me for that reason alone. But they're living in Paris, California, when one of the teenage daughters was able to escape the house and call the police about the abuse that her and her 12 other siblings were experiencing in the house for the entirety of their lives. We're talking about a collective amount of 30 years here,
Yeah.
of their biological parents abusing them, chaining them up, starving them, everything you could think of to basically deprive a child of life. They weren't allowed to go outside.
Yeah.
They certainly didn't go to school.
No, the Jennifer,
Yeah.
the first girl, she went to school, but then they don't really say it, but I think they intimate in the documentary or in the expose that there might have been some kind of questions starting to be asked, and then they immediately pulled her out of school, and then after that, no, none of the kids went to school.
Yeah,
So.
because I mean, it became super obvious really fast because she was the stinky girl, and she was always wearing the same clothes. So adults noticed that as much as the kids. I'm sure that they started asking questions,
Yeah.
But so I guess, where do you want to start? I mean, this is a really sad case. There's nothing funny about it. It's not our usual, foray of stuff. We usually don't cover abuse on kids because it's just not funny in any sense of the word.
Trust me, we have tried.
we have
tried to make it fun. It's never funny. It's just not it's not a thing that you can make. First off, I just would I think I know what you're gonna say, and I agree with you, but I just would want to know, do you think you would be as brave as that as Jordan and leave the house, not having talked to a stranger previously, not having done anything? Do you think you would have left the house?
I would hope so. I would hope so, because Jordan is the one that leaves. She's the one that runs away at around 5 a.m, right? And at this point in their lives, because Jordan is what, 16,
17, yeah.
When it happens, at this point in their lives, some of the older kids have gained enough trust so that some of them have smartphones, some of them have phones. So now they've had maybe like a year or two with a smartphone. And Jordan explains, as you'll see in the special, that she started getting curious about what life is like outside of her house when she saw a Justin Bieber video. And then she kept watching more Justin Bieber videos. So I think in that sense, yeah, I probably, because I'm a really curious mind, and so are you, Lauri. I think any human being, that's the innate need. If you see a cute boy when you're a 17-year-old girl, that piques anybody's interest if you're straight, or a cute girl if you're gay.
I mean, I feel like Justin Bieber is ambiguous. I'm sexually confused by Justin Bieber. So yeah. If I saw Justin Bieber, I'd be like, normally no, but I don't know what's going on with him. He's got some feminine wiles that I'm attracted to.
It just makes sense that it was like puppy love, like this infatuation that drove her to finally do something. It wasn't the only factor, of course. It was ultimately the torture that her siblings were enduring. But I'm saying, like, that was the thing that she was like, oh, what is a world where I could date Justin Bieber, like the girl in her video? And like, what are these cars? What are these, what are these other places? This arcade, this, all this stuff that they show you in his music videos. And so that was like, I think that in that sense, I would have been like, hell yeah, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here, and I need to meet Kevin from the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah. I would have been like, do you know who this Michelle Pfeiffer is? Can I talk to her? Is that possible?
How far am I from her right now?
Yeah. And could you GPS that? This Charlize Theron. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but I know that she's hot. So if you could get in touch with her and let her know that I've been kidnapped, I'd appreciate it. So okay. So I think the crazy thing is that in my opinion, this is also a story of social media kind of being a good thing in a way, because Jordan had this iPhone that like just connected to Wi-Fi, or I don't know. She said that it was dead, but she was able to do stuff on it. And so she would record herself singing songs. And I mean, look, she has a very sweet voice. She's obviously a very sweet person. Those songs were so depressing.
I know. Well, they're her life.
I know. It's her life, but oh man.
It was you know, the lyrics are like, why are you mad at me? Why do you hate me? It's like, oh, nobody. It's so sad. It's so sad.
Who's that emo singer? Morrissey. Morrissey would have been like, I think you need to pep it up a little bit. That's my Morrissey impression.
What's that song? The Savage Boy. It's not Savage. It's
yeah.
Okay.
But well, that was a bit that went nowhere. Thank you for trying to make that a thing. So she would record herself singing, she put it up online, and then some random person reached out and said, why are you always in a locked room? And I was like, oh God, I'm glad that it wasn't like, hey, you look cute, let's meet up later. Like, it was just like genuine concern. Now that guy could have been like, I'm looking for information. I'm looking for ideas based off what I want to do. It's like, you never know with people online.
Honestly, I've like commented on other people and been like, why do you always take selfies in the bathroom? So I mean, maybe it's that, like maybe he was skating. I hope he wasn't. I hope he was genuinely, or she was genuinely concerned.
That would be hilarious if he was just like, I was just being a bitch, and it actually worked out.
I saved her. I mean, obviously,
that would be like a go-to for somebody to be like just a raging bitch from now on. It's like, look, the last time I was a bitch, a girl got brave enough to leave her abusive house. So
I made fun of her background, and guess what? She went outside.
Now she's living a life. So Jordan so this family is in like their high school suite. So the married couple, the parents, they're high school sweethearts. I think there's like 3 or 6 years old difference. The husband is older. They get married when the wife is 16. And then they have their first kid like 3 or 4 years later, and everything, it just starts to deteriorate from there, where the mom at first is just a very bipolar figure. Like Jennifer said, she says, oh, I didn't know what mom I was going to get, depending on what I did. Like if I asked a question, I didn't know if I was going to get the leave me alone or if I was going to get the sweet loving mom. And then it seems like it deteriorates from there, where she's then towards the end, she's just like, Jordan is like, I don't really see her. She doesn't really like to be around us. And
right.
Like, she doesn't like us. And so it's clearly like, it's tough because it's clearly mental illness, but
no, fuck that. Because there's a husband in there. And they both let each other run rampant with whatever their mental illnesses are. The husband is an engineer. He holds a very steady, very successful job, you know. And she, as far as we could, she's not, she's a housewife. And
Yeah.
it seems like the mental illness started a few years after maybe the first baby was born. And Jordan explains that um the mom buys endless amounts of food and toys and clothes. She's a shopper. She's a hoarding shopper,
Yeah.
you know, but she doesn't let the children touch any of that stuff.
Yeah. It's so
Mm,
weird because
yeah.
it would more make sense if she bought things for herself, but she buys like kids' toys and kids' clothes
Yeah.
and she doesn't let them wear it. Um, and so that to me is just craziness.
It's
Uh
insane. And obviously don't know her background. And I'm not trying to explain any of it away, but like for example, I know that a lot of the women in my family, they buy that kind of stuff. Like it's first of all, if you were to use it all, it's not hoarding because you're using it and it's not stacking up. So the toys would get broken,
yeah.
the clothes would get worn, et cetera, et cetera. But so I noticed, like, for example, my mom, she buys a lot of stuff that she won't use. She knows she won't use or can't use, but she gives it away, or she'll buy certain toys that she couldn't have when she was little for herself, like tea sets that
Oh.
she couldn't afford when she was little, you know. So now she has like cute tea sets in her house. So I get that aspect of it, but obviously the degree to which the lady took it to, and she would rather let food rot on the floor than let
Yeah.
her kids have it. And all the children are like deficient in everything. They haven't their
Emaciated.
Yeah, their growth is stunted. They've always lived in filth, like Jordan says.
Yeah, there's a scene, there's a part in the expose where they talk about how they do have pictures of them being a happy family, quote unquote, like at their vow renewal in Vegas or when they went to Disney World or Disneyland. And they said that they would like clean, that would be like one of the few times they got clean and they get in these nice clothes and they'd be able to eat. And then afterwards, it was right back to the dirty clothes they'd always worn
Yeah.
and that were never washed, and then like no food. um
It's
yeah,
insane.
so
It's insane. And the children were also kept in cages. And if they weren't in cages, they were regularly chained to their beds, a lot of the little ones.
yeah.
And the big ones were brainwashed to keep the smaller ones in cages when the parents weren't home. Because if they didn't, then they would be the ones in the cages later on. So they've like built up this entire terrible lifestyle for these. It's not a life, it's just this prison for these children that they just keep having. Like, I don't know why they want to keep torturing more children. It's just
Yeah, and they keep having kids too, like
that's what I mean. Yeah.
they yeah, and they oh sorry, that okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and they keep having, and they're just like at one point they so basically when they first start having kids, they basically start telling their family that they believe the Bible says to have as many kids as you
Right.
can.
Right. Because they're not, are they evangelicals? Like they reform from something else.
Yeah, they're like I think no, not maybe.
Pentecostal. I think it's
Yeah, I think
Pentecostal.
Pentecostal. They're crazy. That's what they are.
Lauri,
I'm sorry, my ears really bother.
leave that one
I'm
out, maybe.
I'm pretty sure I'm now an anamorph and there's a slug inside my head. Um no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just gonna die after this.
Leave that
So
one out of your ears. Just just take it out of your. Can you still hear me? Can you still
yeah,
hear
I
me?
can you still hear me?
Yeah, yeah. I just want to.
Okay. I don't know why I thought you couldn't hear me if I took an earbud. This is how much I know about technology. Uh so
uh,
so they start off in a house. They start off in like a house, and then they move the entire family to a mobile home, but then they just go and leave and go on vacations and stuff.
they
So they
have
just
tons of
yeah,
money. Yeah.
yeah. And and they go traveling and they leave the kids. They leave the kids to fend for, but then like on a farm, they leave them in a mobile home, but like nobody notices that there's like a mobile home filled with dirty children. Like I just thought
Well,
that was crazy.
because that's not totally uncommon, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then I can't imagine they pick the best mobile park, they probably picked the cheapest one. So
Yeah.
everybody there is gonna mind their business.
Yeah. They
Um,
didn't go for an Airstreamer. They
yeah,
weren't like
yeah,
doing YouTube videos about decking out an Airstream bus
yeah. And
to
they didn't park over by the beach. They didn't do like fucking
yeah.
Santa Barbara mobile park. They probably went to, I mean, obviously they went to Riverside County. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and um
So they move, yeah. So then they moved to California to this big house in Riverside County in Paris, California. And then the reason
wait, hold on.
that this oh sorry.
That's what I wanted to talk about is so they moved to a big suburban home in Paris, California. And Paris, California is a place where there's a lot of housing developments, where all those houses that look the same.
Yeah.
And that's what's so creepy and sad about this case, I think, to most people who watch it, is that this is a house like the house across the street from you. And this is a house where, just like every other neighbor on those fucking suburban streets, none of them check in with each other.
No.
And if they do, they do it wrong, Um, they're like outwardly aggressive about it. So nobody ever wants to be friends with their neighbors in these
Yeah.
supposedly idyllic, happy, suburban neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it's just so freaky because I grew up for so many years, like not so much my mom's neighborhood, but because I grew up with all those housing developments coming up, all of those houses look the same. You guys all know what I'm talking about. They all look the same. And as long as nobody does anything weird to their front yard, like nobody's checking on other people. You don't think
Yeah.
about the fact that the house across from you looks empty and undisturbed, 20 hours out of the day, and yet a whole family lives there. It's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. You just don't think about it. Yeah. That there was a guy who lived across the street from my grandma, the house that I used to live at, and I didn't live there, but literally across the street, and he was arrested for owning like 120 something guns or something.
You told me
And
that, yeah.
yeah. And my grandma was always like, oh yeah, I just, I'd see she was always like, yeah, he'd always put like old mattresses out of the house and like just leave them there. And I was like, that was your issue with him? Like, it's like, like
Yeah,
she never wanted to talk to him. She never wanted, but I was just like, she never like truly like got to know him. Or I'm not saying that you have to, but it's just, I've never been instilled with this like interest in getting to know my neighbor. Like Star, we moved into this apartment. Star already knows like 3 people in this apartment, and I haven't talked to a single person. Like she's,
yeah.
and so yeah,
I think it's like, I don't know. And I'm not saying it's not a cultural divide. It's just the way that different people grew up. Like I'm not that good at talking to my neighbors, but I make myself do it because these are the people you have to live by for the rest of your life, potentially.
yeah,
And they should know if you're, there.
yeah. It's like isolation too, like,
Yeah.
well, like the case that we just did on the public feed. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the main reasons why police got involved, or why there was like a big uproar, is because the neighbors, like he talked to his neighbors, he hung
Yeah.
out with his neighbors, and the neighbors were like, we haven't seen him in a while, and this random person keeps showing up and saying that, all this stuff, and we don't believe her because that's not who he is. I guarantee you, if I went missing tomorrow, my neighbors would be like, I didn't know that a second person lived there. Like, so
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard because you have to force yourself to do it. You really do.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and I haven't
but
done it
yeah.
with all my neighbors. There's a white guy across the street that I'm like, I'm not gonna talk to him, you know.
Yeah, I don't think you should. Well, okay, so this goes kind of into my my conservative attitude of like, we need to police everybody, because one of us might be a child molester, is that that guy, that husband with that fucking haircut.
I hate it.
I'm
That
like,
stupid dolt of a husband.
he should be arrested. He should be arrested just for having that haircut. Like,
He's such a fucking dope. He looks so stupid. And every year they show different him at different decades, and every decade is just worse than the last.
it's so bad. And what's so weird is that there were some decades where he had okay haircuts, and then like he decided to go back to his haircut when he was a teenager. And I was like, ugh. And then when they're like openly tongue kissing at their vow renewal, I'm like, no, you guys should be arrested. Like,
We're
I would
talking
be
about
the
a very ugly couple. He looks like a Tijuana rendition of Sleepy, and she looks like a mummy. She just looks like a mummy.
yeah, she looks like a mummy that hasn't noticed she's dead yet. She just looks ridiculous. But so anyway, so then they moved to Paris. They and then what I think is the sort of the catalyst for why Jordan felt she needed to go, and they do kind of talk about a little bit in here, but I had read an article that kind of deep dived into it, is that the mom and the dad, mostly the mom, started talking about how they had the right to murder them if they got out of hand. And they had announced that in a couple of days they would be moving back to like, I think it was Oklahoma, to like a farm. And so the kids were like, one of us is going to be murdered or die from starvation if we don't do something. And so that's kind of the catalyst for why Jordan left and ran out. And it was crazy because it was like she was so brave and so earnest. And I know that the police are just doing their jobs, but at the same time, when you're watching the video and you're watching them be like, question her, you just want to be like, just fucking go look. Like, just go look at the house. Like, they're constantly like asking her all these questions. And then the police officer asks if she has evidence. And it's like, why the fuck do you just go look at the fucking house? Like, I was just like, oh, I was like, screw reasonable articulable suspicion, screw all that. Just if a girl came up to me and said, you need to check out this house, I'd be like, I'm on it. I'd break down the door.
You can't though, because that's
I know.
It's not even the breakdown the door thing. I mean, you really can't just take a child at their word a lot of the time, especially a teenager. Yeah. I see why the police officer did the perfect thing, where I'm definitely not criticizing him, but when Jordan speaks, it's just me. When all the children speak, they have stunted, they have limited vocabulary. So if an officer were to hear how Jordan would speak, I could see why his first question was like, did you take any drugs? Or did you say, are you supposed to take any medication? Because she's so nervous, she's already studying over her words. Plus the fact that she doesn't know, like the special explains, she seems to not know the word bruise or bruises, stuff like that. So then she was amazingly, she did have pictures, like photo proof, because for that part of the documentary I was waiting for them to be like, she didn't have any proof, so then he just took her home, and that would have but that happened so much.
She thought about it. That was just shows how smart she was. And we can jump to the end, because I mean, I think it truly shows how smart they are, because at the end, when the parents are arrested, the police come and they see the kids and they see the house is just like full of shit, and like literally and metaphorically. And they arrest them, and then they're charged, and the kids are able to speak. And some of the kids like this, and so it's been 4 years, so just imagine, like, for me personally, I just imagine like what I have accomplished in 4 years. And these kids would come and they'd say like, I'm living on my own. I'm getting I'm getting a bachelor's degree in, robotics. I'm doing all this. And then it's like in 4 years, in 4 years, you went from being chained to a bed, not knowing what medicine is, and now you're getting a bachelor's degree in engineering and you're living. I'm like, I haven't done that. I haven't accomplished any of that. So these kids are like, they're really bright. I was just like, oh wow, they're freaking on it. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was
it's
crazy.
a wonderful story, and it's not all a happy ending either. um Once the kids leave the parents' house, the minors have to go into the foster care system, which is a whole nother nightmare. And I wanted
Yeah.
to say that um like they have they expose like one of the foster care contracted services, ChildNet. And they say that, that they didn't do their part and they didn't check in on these children afterwards, because some of these children were sexually abused in some of the foster homes, and put it in just as dire situations. And then ChildNet like defends themselves by saying like, we take the initial, or we take the process of vetting parents seriously. And granted, like those companies normally do take the process of vetting the parents seriously. They'll put like what seem like arbitrary rules that make sense. Like they'll say that you can't have knives in the kitchen. The knives have to be locked up. The medications have to be locked up. There's all these like restrictions when you first become a foster parent. And then after that, like you're lucky if they, not lucky, but it's amazing if they come by once a month. One,
Wow.
and then they'll barely talk to the kid. Sometimes they'll go to the kid's school, which I think is the best way to visit these kids. They should also do the home visit. But, I think that a lot of kids like are scared to tell their social workers the truth about how their living situation is in front of the parents, or the foster parents, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like child that's like, we did everything we could. It's like, yeah, you did everything you normally do, but that's the problem. That's why the system is broken. But
Yeah.
then
In the
again,
beginning.
yeah. And then, but then again, it's like no one wants to be a social worker because it's so hard, basically.
Yeah.
So there's never enough.
Yeah. It is. It's a very demanding job. And yeah, and it's just tough. It's tough that they had to go through that. Um, it's tough that, you know, some of these kids were re-abused, having after they kind of got rescued from the system. But I think at one, good note is that the JC Lee Dugar, who I think she created a foundation for families and kids who've dealt with abuse. She started a GoFundMe or some kind of charity donation thing where you can donate for the Turpin kids. And because another big thing is that they essentially got money from the state, I want to say, but for some reason they can't access it. And like their facilitator is not allowing them to access it in any way.
She's a
So
piece of shit. I hope somebody docks that woman. They
yeah,
well, I mean, they basically did on 2020. I was
yeah,
laughing at that part where they're like, they explain their advocate is also a real estate agent. And then they show footage of her stupid Instagram of her
yeah.
trying to like pitch her real estate business. And then they show her like walking home because she ignored their interview.
Yeah, that was
that
funny.
that lady is not gonna have a good time.
No. And I think it's still ongoing because they said that they sued to get some records unsealed. So I think we're still waiting to find out what the dealio is on that's a legal term on those documents, because yeah, they don't know why they're being denied. They're just sort of not really getting any answers. They're just essentially, it's just saying it's an ongoing thing. We can't talk about it.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah.
very much is ongoing. I mean, thankfully, I think that now they'll receive a lot of help. I read last that like, over 7 million people watched this 2020 special. So I think they're gonna have some
That's
real
good.
help now. Um, but the smaller the minors are supposedly in like a foster home where they're really happy, which is really good. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna say that if you know somebody with foster kids, check in on them all the time, like more than you think is like appropriate. This is where I will say, like, I will agree with Lauri. Be a white lady, be a Lauri about it, and like barge
Yes.
into their house and just be like, are the kids okay, or are you spending all the money that you get for them on yourself?
Yeah.
Are
Just
the kids
bring a
okay?
casserole. Everybody loves a casserole. So
Bring
just
a
bring a
casserole
casserole. Yeah.
sprinkled with judgment.
Which is the only kind of casserole there is. Uh just bring a casserole, like just show up, just with some flimsy excuse and walk in and just start looking around, start opening doors. And just start barging in and just see
Yeah.
see what's going on.
And don't be afraid to go in the bathroom. You gotta
Yeah.
barge into the bathroom because that's where all the problems happen.
Yeah. And show up late, like 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning.
And if
Just show up and just kind of with a casserole and just be like, hey, I'm here.
yeah, yeah. Have a friend
And
outside for backup.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I would just say, yeah, if you see, I would say if you see kids, just any kids, just walk up to them and ask them if they're safe.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Are you safe? Are you doing okay? Do you need shelter? Um,
Are
you
you
know,
safe? Do you feel safe
for
right now?
but to make you sure you're safe, do it from a distance of a car. Stay in your car, have a kid come up to your car and ask them if they're safe.
Hey, are you alone? Are you alone?
It's always a good, kids don't like to talk to strangers, so it's always good. Maybe keep like a bag of candy in your car
Yeah.
or something you can offer the child so they don't feel scared. Like be like,
Xanax.
thanks for talking to me. Yeah, Xanax. They might want to take a nap in the back of your car. Make sure you have a bed there. Just to make sure that they feel comfortable.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Let us know what you think of the brave, wonderful Turpin children. And yeah, that's it. We'll be back in a little bit with another episode.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.